World champs. Savage. Probably the one word to sum it up. I don't know if it's properly sunk in yet that I actually managed to finish 5th. Obviously talked about it before and I thought top 5 was kind of within reach, and obviously had like super dream goal of maybe a podium if I had a magic day. But I think all things considered, top 5 at my first World Champs, considering where I'm at and where training's been and the performance I put out, you know, like thinking about numbers, etc. Like, I don't think there's much more I could have done. I have to walk away completely happy with that. Kind of still feels a bit surreal that the race has happened and that I actually managed to put together a good race. Like, I think I said to a few people before, actually just being able to put together a solid race I think is really hard in Ironman. I did put together that solid race. Like, do I think it's the absolute best race I could do? No, but you could probably ask Daniela and she'd probably say, I think I can do a better race than what I did yesterday. I think that's always what you're striving for, is something better. Thinking about like the numbers that I've seen in training, where I think I'm at the moment, I think that's probably about the best I could have done. Overall, really happy, as it's kind of what I sort of let myself dream that I could do. I think even if you'd asked me 2 months ago, do I think I could top 5 at the World Champs in May, because I think I probably thought, okay, by the time we get to October and it's Kona, I would hope to be in a better place, mainly with the swim. I think for me, generally comes down to the swim. If I can get myself in that better position with the main pack, I've got people to ride with, changes the whole dynamic of the pack, whereas I think at the moment I'm generally just 4 minutes down off the main pack out the swim. I don't have as much of the company that I want to be riding with to ride with. You're just chasing all day, which I'd rather be chasing than getting chased. It's quite hard when you feel like you're the one person that's kind of doing that chasing. I know obviously the group split quite early this race, but often there's a group and you know they're probably working reasonably well, and yeah, I think I'm definitely someone who's motivated more by being around people. Main aim now to build on is get that swim sorted. Another sort of 5 months of that and we'll get there. I spent Friday in a bit of a flap, to be honest. Reality probably hit a bit more that, oh my God, this is actually World Champs and it's quite a big deal. I think I'm usually someone that's quite like calm and good at dealing with that. There were definitely points on the Friday where I was like, oh my God, like I'm trying to process it, trying to make sure that I was doing everything I needed to do, and I completely failed with that because I turned up to go and rack my bike and hadn't put any of my stickers on the bike or the helmet, and I had to kind of blag my way in. Fortunately, my Argon 18 bike already has the number 18 on it, so the woman that I checked in with was very accommodating and was like, your bike's already got it. The kind of bad news about Al not being able to race, and I guess I just felt like really gutted for him, and it took me a while to kind of process that and not park that so I could focus on me. It wasn't the kind of ideal prep day that I would want, not turning up to transition with my bike without the numbers and almost getting told I had to go back. I think other than that, like generally the run up to the race couldn't have gone better. As I said, training was really good, everything was really good. And then the race itself actually went kind of to plan in some ways. Like the swim, yes, I would have liked to have hung on a bit longer to the main group, but I think I'm a bit timid with where I start. So it doesn't help that at the moment I'm not one of the people getting called out. So everyone's already called out and they've already lined up, and it was quite narrow. So there wasn't really that many other places for me to go other than behind someone. So I kind of lined up behind Anne and Sky, thinking they're the kind of like really ambitious, try and hang with them for like 400 meters. Hung for a little bit and then I got squeezed out a little bit, and then as soon as I'd kind of lost the feet, that was it. But then settled into a nice group. There was a whole chunk where I was just on Laura's feet, and then I think there's a chunk where Renee kind of came up alongside. At that point I was like, well, I'm not going any faster if I try and go round, so I'm just going to sit behind and conserve energy. To come out with people, obviously not ideally where I wanted to be. They're all strong bikers. Almost had a bit of a a bit of a problem with the mountain line, because basically the volunteers were stood like 2 meters in front of the mountain line, kind of pointing. Almost got on and they're like, no, it's like up there. I was like, okay, fine. So kept running. Managed to not get a penalty for that. Bike set off, felt really good to start with. Stood in, I knew the kind of numbers I wanted to hold. That was feeling pretty good for that first half. There was some points where, like on some of the hills, Laura was kind of coming past me. I think her kind of rhythm of what she was riding meant doing a bit more power up the hills, but then I would kind of come back past on the downs. So generally the bike felt like just a solo time trial, which I actually quite like, being kind of consistent with it than either like surging or not surging, or being worried about getting in that draft zone, because that's the other thing. I think I probably like overly worry about it. I'd kind of rather not even have the stress of having to think about it and just kind of be on the front. Quite a lonely day in some ways on the bike. There's something mentally about just catching people that's nice. And then when we'd come down the first descent, like having done the big loop, come back round up Snow Canyon, then we had age groupers. So again, it's just like kind of seeing people in some ways is quite nice. I was hoping to be able to push a bit more in the second half of the bike, to be honest. Like I was hoping my legs would have a bit more than they had. I was basically trying to do a reverse of what I did in Mallorca with the numbers that I held, but I basically managed to hold what I held in the back half of Mallorca and then not up it for the second half. So it didn't really work on that day yesterday. Like had I tried to push more either initially or like really tried to push more at the end, I really think I would have blown up. Like it was really hot. Like my legs felt good, but they didn't feel like, you know, some days they just feel magic, and I didn't have that. Overall as the bike, happy with how it went. Definitely need to try and find something else for Kona, given how a lot of the other girls are now biking. Kind of motivating, it's a challenge, right? Keep working on it. Yeah, then onto the run, I have to say, I'd recce'd that run, not running, but kind of in the car, and I was a bit like, oh, everyone's kind of blowing this out of proportion, it's not that bad. It's like a few like gradual ups and downs. That is a seriously tough run course, that's seriously tough. The gradient's kind of just about enough to really hurt on a lot of it. And the downhills, there's like a couple of quite steep ones that again, like really hurt. So yeah, initially on the run, I was like, I really don't feel great. But at that point, I think I was in 7th and I knew that Jocelyn wasn't far ahead. Definitely in the back of my head, I was like, she's just done an Ironman 2 weeks ago. Basically what I was telling myself to try and motivate myself, like it's not very fair. I think some people obviously race really well 2 weeks apart. I wouldn't be able to. But yeah, in my head, I was like, I can catch her. I caught her relatively quickly. And then I knew that Sky was basically the next athlete up the road, but at that point, I think she was about 2.5 minutes. I probably spent the first half of the run running a bit quicker than her. So my Wahoo didn't find any GPS. So I had no idea what pace I was running. It kept telling me I was running like 6.5 minute Ks, which obviously I wasn't. First half, maybe a bit quick. Definitely a bit quick, because I think some of my splits were like faster than Kat, and yeah, I'm not at a point where I can run faster than Kat. But I felt good, kind of was just running to feel at that point. I was like, I'm starting to relax into it. I was basically like just focus on each aid station, getting all the water, getting the ice, getting the hydration, trying to like be sensible. We also had all the pro fluid stations. We had 7 points we could pick up where I'd already mixed some like carb drink and put a gel with a bottle. So that was also really good. So actually I was really good at getting all the good nutrition and hydration in, which I'm not often that great on courses, especially when it's a bit hot, because you kind of concentrate on the ice, then you forget the water, and then sometimes it gets a bit busy and you... So yeah, I got to a point where I was running Sky down. I thought I might catch her. I think I got to within 90 seconds at one point. I actually think I probably faded a bit, and I think she probably upped it a bit, because she then caught Lisa. I knew that Lisa was blowing a bit, so then I was like, right, Lisa's the aim, and at that point I was like, then I get top 5. I was also trying really hard to be patient, because there was a point when I could actually see Lisa ahead, but that was at the point where we were back on like one of the long uphill drags, and I was like, I don't want to push it too hard, because there's definitely a risk of cramping or just completely blowing up, because it was really hot. Like it was really hot, and I've done all the heat training and it still felt really hot. In my head I was like, you cannot walk now, like now you just got to keep moving, because you get up that hill and then it's like 5k downhill to the finish basically. And yeah, that really hurt. And then all the way down to the finish, because like part of me was like, do I just go absolutely like as fast as I possibly can on the off chance that Sky might blow and I might kind of catch her? Definitely like wishful thinking. She was 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes ahead at that point. But then I was like, actually no, like you've got 5th hopefully kind of in the bag. let's not like risk it of the blow up, because especially with like the kind of downhill running, I was like, my legs could definitely just just go. And yeah, then crossing that finish line, it was like, wow, I've actually I've finished, I've finished in like a competitive position, and coming across the line and seeing like Kat had got second. She sort of like ran straight over to come and give me a hug, which was just amazing, especially because they were about to call the podium, delayed that a bit to come say hi to me. Seeing how well she was doing as well was keeping me kind of going in the race a bit as well. She's managing to keep pushing on, and I could kind of tell from her face expression like she was finding it quite tough. Like Tulsa, for example, she was super smiley and like looked very relaxed, whereas like she definitely didn't on Saturday. So I was a bit like, well, if she's managed to push through the struggle, I can push through the struggle. Lots of different things to draw on during all the tough times, of which there were many, because that course was just savage.